October 12, 1972. This date is etched in history as a day of great significance. A Uruguayan plane was flying over the Andes Mountains. On board were 45 people, mostly rugby players and their families. Suddenly, the weather took a turn for the worse. Thick clouds rolled in, visibility decreased for the pilots, and it became difficult to control the plane. Everything became hazy. The passengers couldn't understand what was happening, and then, with a violent jolt, the plane slammed into the mountain. With a terrifying sound, the plane broke apart. There was an explosion, screams filled the air, and then silence. All that remained was debris and snow. Amidst the wreckage, some were alive, terrified but alive. They began searching for each other, looking for help. They couldn't comprehend what had happened. They were in shock, but they clung to the hope of survival. Surrounding them was nothing but snow, mountains, and silence. No help, no way out. But even in this silence, a glimmer of hope remained. They knew they had to help themselves. 33 people survived the crash. They supported each other, gave each other strength. This is their story. A story of struggle, a story of adventure. They built shelters in the snow, searched for food, and made every effort to stay alive. And above all, a story of the will to live. Their story teaches us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, with hope and courage, we can face any challenge. After the crash, the biggest challenge was simply staying alive. Stranded in the snowy mountains, there was nothing but snow and freezing temperatures all around. The bitter cold, strong winds, and plummeting temperatures made every moment a struggle. The blizzard conditions only made things worse. Injured bodies ached with pain. The injuries were so severe that even moving was difficult. The survivors tried to build a shelter from the plane wreckage. They used pieces of debris to create a makeshift roof to protect themselves from the cold. They huddled together, seeking warmth from each other's bodies. Supporting one another, they fought against the cold. Water was scarce, so they melted snow to quench their thirst. Hunger also began to gnaw at them. Even building a fire to melt snow was a challenge. The little food they had ran out quickly. They tried rationing, but even that wasn't enough. In desperation, they even tried to eat the leather seats. Hunger had driven them to the point where they were willing to eat anything. It was a battle against death, and it was becoming more difficult with each passing moment. With every passing moment, their hopes dwindled. But still, they refused to give up and continued their fight for survival. Days turned into nights, and with each passing day, their hopes grew dimmer. But no help arrived. Every time they looked to the sky, they were met with disappointment. Hunger and thirst were taking their toll. Their bodies were weakening. Every step became a struggle. Faced with this dire situation, the survivors had to make a difficult decision. Time was running out, and their options were limited. They had no food left. Every last morsel was gone. To survive, they had to make a decision that was unimaginable. It was a decision between life and death. They decided to consume the bodies of the deceased. It was not an easy decision, but it was their last hope. It was not a decision made lightly. Sadness and stress were etched on everyone's faces. But they had no other choice. Every step led them closer to despair. It was a matter of life and death. Every breath became a struggle. They paid their respects to their companions and took this difficult step to stay alive. It was a tribute, a final farewell. This decision gave them a renewed sense of hope, but it also brought profound sorrow. It was an experience they would never forget. This ordeal made them stronger. They supported each other and took steps towards a new beginning. This was their story, a story of hunger, thirst, and a grave decision. A decision that changed their lives forever. 11 days after the crash, they found a small radio. This radio became their only connection to the outside world. They spent hours listening to news on the radio. They learned about the rescue efforts. The radio gave them hope. It reminded them that they were not alone. Somewhere in the world, someone was searching for them. This realization gave them the strength to keep going. Time passed, but there was no sign of the rescue team. The news on the radio became discouraging. The survivors realized they had to take matters into their own hands. In this moment, Nando Parado stepped forward and took charge. Nando was a young man with unwavering determination. He decided to cross the mountains and seek help. It was a dangerous plan, but not impossible. Nando was joined by another survivor, Roberto Canessa. They had no maps, no proper equipment, just hope and a strong will to live. They crossed snow-covered mountains and navigated treacherous paths. They endured cold, hunger, and thirst. After days of travel, they finally spotted a shepherd in the distance. Their joy knew no bounds. They told the shepherd their story. The shepherd immediately contacted the authorities. Upon receiving Nando and Roberto's message, the rescue team sprang into action. Helicopters were dispatched. After 72 long days, the remaining 16 survivors were finally rescued. The world was astonished. For 72 days, they had fought against death, and their display of courage and willpower was unbelievable. This incident became a symbol of human courage and resilience. After the rescue, life was never the same for these survivors. What they endured stayed with them forever, but this experience also made them stronger. Their perspective on life changed. They shared their story with the world. They inspired others with their experiences. They emphasized the importance of never losing hope, even in the most difficult circumstances. The story of the Andes plane crash became a source of inspiration worldwide. This incident showed that humans, no matter how great the adversity, never give up. The will to live within them never dies. This story is a lesson for all of humanity. It shows how unity, courage, and hope can help us overcome any obstacle. The story of the Andes is not just a story of a tragedy. It is a story of the human spirit. It reminds us of how precious life is and that we should never give up. This story teaches us the importance of supporting each other during challenging times. It gives us a message of hope, and it assures us that if we are determined, no challenge is insurmountable.